Hi, hello.
Hello, Samantha.
Hi, how are you?
Super.
Cool. And I just saw your message yesterday
Mm-hmm.
and I'm reading I'm reading it again. You
Okay.
know, yeah, it is okay. I'll tell you whatever you'd like to know about my experience living here in Germany.
Yeah, okay. So because actually the platform Cambly asked, we have a YouTube channel and asked us to promote. So that's what we're doing here today, basically.
Okay. And where are you located currently?
We are in Berlin.
Okay.
Yeah, it's me and my wife Elisa. We are a Brazilian couple and we live in Berlin. And we
Okay.
want to talk about like English, learning English in Germany, basically.
Okay. I live in
So,
Duisburg to give you some context.
sorry, Pittsburgh.
I live in Duisburg.
Ah, Duisburg. Where is that? I'm not sure.
That that's right outside of Dusseldorf.
Ah, okay, okay. Yeah, I've been to
Yeah.
Düsseldorf. It's a pretty nice area.
Yeah, I mean, it's very North Rhine-Westphalia is pretty industrial,
Yeah.
my city in particular. But the thing is, if you're a foreigner and you want to make a living, you want to actually have some roots here in Germany, it's Dusseldorf, Duisburg, Essen, and Cologne.
Oh, yeah, makes sense. Yeah, the big centers, of course, of
The
the.
big ones. Yeah, I sort of landed here by accident about 5 years ago. I was brought over by a kindergarten, and they sent me to Essen. And so I worked in Essen, which is not far from where I am now.
Yeah,
Then I met my husband, who's from Duisburg, and here we are.
Okay, yeah. So like, yeah, life gets you, of course.
Life, yeah.
You've been here for 5 years, right? That's what it says on
Yes.
your profile. Yeah, we also have been here for 5 years, so kind of the same time. Uh, have you learned German before coming to Germany?
Yes. Okay. So I grew up in Wisconsin. Are you familiar?
Yeah, by name, yes.
Okay.
I heard
Okay.
of it.
The interesting thing about Wisconsin is that a lot of people have foreign German ancestors.
Ah, okay.
Quite a few. So German is actually still taught in the schools.
Oh,
And
wow,
my
that
school,
that much? Okay.
oh yeah, oh yeah. So I started learning German consistently at about 12 years old. I learned it. I forgot it.
As you do. When you don't use it, right?
Right, exactly. My grandfather and my great-grandfather did speak a little bit of German together, but my great-grandfather died when I was about 9. So I had school, I had music, but then, I sort of forgot it. And then just as I was planning to move here, I started picking up again. And as soon as I got here, everything really clicked, really, really clicked, because Duisburg is very industrial. It's very working class. You can't rely on people to speak English, which
Look at
is
that.
what I think separates this area from, say, Cologne or Berlin or Munich. If I were living in one of those big cities, I wouldn't have had as much incentive, but I had all the incentive here. And so now I'm actually at C1.
Oh, okay, that's amazing. Yeah, you see, like we are basically at the same time in Germany, and we are on B2 because, as you said, like Berlin
Right.
doesn't have the same incentives as a smaller city.
No. And also, I mean, if I could speak English with more people outside, I would.
Yeah, well,
It would be
it's natural
comfortable
for
for
you.
me. Yeah, it'd feel good for me. It'd be comfortable for me. Now, I've noticed this difference because I work in Cologne. And yeah, once again, Cologne, big city vibes. And people will actually hear an accent and they'll try to switch over to English,
Oh, yeah, of
which is
course, because
not
the Germans want to practice. They want to, yeah,
exactly.
they want to use you as a.
Yeah. They're kind of like some of the calls I get here on Cambly, like right at the end where the person's like, tell me what my English level is. Give me a number. I just had one yesterday and he was like, give me a number from 1 to 10. And I'm like, okay. I haven't seen any of your writing, but let's go ahead and do that then. Yeah, it's that.
Did you come to when you arrived here? You mentioned you were like in the kindergarten, but did
Yes.
you transition to teaching English very fast, or it just came
Okay,
naturally?
well, by my training, I am a trained teacher, high school, middle school, right? Secondary. So I wanted to try something different 5 years ago. I had worked in a bilingual kindergarten in Russia. So
Wow.
I thought, okay, let me see if I can find a similar position here in Germany. I know they still exist. I don't know if they're still bilingual. There was a branch of kindergartens called Freubel. They're all over Germany. They're actually Australian based. They hired me on. I went through the whole process of getting the work visa and visiting the embassy in Chicago. It took about a year. But once I got my sponsorship, I came over, and that was like my stepping stone. I don't know how familiar you are with kindergartens in Germany.
Not very. Yeah, we don't have kids.
Okay.
So yeah, there's one like on our Erdgeschloss, and they're very loud sometimes.
Yeah.
That's
That's what I was just going to say. Kindergartens in Germany function significantly different than they would in Russia or the United States or Australia, where I did my formal education, and I wasn't going to stay in too long. I did 3 years in a bilingual kindergarten, and during that time I searched and I searched and I searched for a position in a bilingual high school. And when that came, I sunk my claws into it and I was out. And I love little kids. I have a daughter, but the differences can be so extreme that I was, But by that time, I, was with my husband and like had a firm living situation, and so I could make the transition.
And one thing that we really want to ask you is about, especially as your experience as a native speaker of English coming to Germany. Imagine like a Brazilian person, and she wants to learn a new language, and she also has interest in maybe living in Germany or visiting. Do you see value in learning English instead of German?
If this person is going to study at university, and if they're going to study a subject such as engineering, or IT, or medical science, then there are many universities, including the one that's closest to me, Duisburg-Essen, which has their whole program in the English language. For that particular market, it's extremely valuable. For everybody else, so let's say you have a business student, right? Somebody wants to study business. You can promote the English language as yet another tool for them to use in their career in Germany, because there's a really high chance, if you're working in the higher levels of business, that English is going to end up being the common language anyway, right? But that person, the business student, needs to also be warned that in order to have a really solid functional life in Germany, everybody has to get to C1 or C2 German. That has been my experience. Like, I'm a fully trained teacher, and even now, I've been in my current job position for 3 years. We're now being asked by the government, all the foreign trained teachers at my school, to prove that we have a German. German language abilities, and to go through and do extra Ausbildung and all this stuff. It's kind of, like here, that's the thing. It's easy to get in, but it's harder to stay in.
I see.
Like, that's my feeling. And I'm not even from the EU. A person from the EU could very easily convince themselves, okay, I'll just go to Germany and I'll get a job, but it's not quite the truth. It's a lot more competitive than it was 5 years ago. Yeah,
that's true. Like on our perspective, even like with some friends, in Berlin in particular is not so bad. You can exactly like you mentioned before, like on the IT world, you can easily get along with English.
Yes. There is a point though where if you want to work for a German company, they're going to say, okay, show us that fluency you have in German. I think from Cambly's perspective, if you can promote this idea, which is a true idea, okay, that by becoming fluent and competent in one language, you often feed your abilities to learn a second language. If you can promote that, then I think you're going to be in good standing.
And do you agree with this? Like having an English base gives you opportunities to learn German better?
Sure, yes. Now, there are distinct differences between English grammar and German grammar. There are a lot of false friends. There are a lot of false friends. But that's something that honestly, that through diligent work throughout the years, I use my English abilities to feed German all the time. Right? It's an interesting question. You say, so somebody, for example, who's Brazilian, so their first language is Portuguese.
Correct.
Yes, I would always, even now, because I work at a bilingual high school, I will always promote, if you have to choose between English or another language, you choose English first. I do it with my daughter as well. Like, she's being raised completely bilingual because it doesn't matter where we live, English functions everywhere. Yeah,
that's true. It's, if you're just traveling, it's much better to just learn English because then it's going to be better for the future as well.
For sure, for
A
sure.
much more convenient language to use and to learn than German.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. That's something that I actually try to explain to a lot of my high school students. You know, they say, well, why should I? Especially in this area, which is a little bit more working class.
Yeah,
why should I learn English? Why should I learn English? And I have to say over and over again, listen, guys, the world is a lot more globalized than it was, you know, even 10 years ago. You don't know when you're going to need this skill. There's also that. There's the appeal of you don't know exactly when you're going to need this skill.
Yeah.
And
you can use it even on everyday situations, like just to understand like American culture. Like you get the movies, you get the music,
right.
So it's all over the place, basically.
Right, and that's another thing I actually do with my high school students. A little bit here on Cambly, if I get somebody who's calling me who's more in like the high school age, that's the first question I'm asking them is like, what are you watching on Netflix? What are you listening to? Do you like being able to understand the meaning of what you're watching, what you're listening to more with your English knowledge? And usually, you know, yeah, I haven't heard otherwise yet. Nobody's ever said no, it's a complete waste of my time. Like, not yet. It depends. It really depends who Cambly's trying to appeal to. Are you also trying to appeal to Germans?
No, not really.
No.
Our YouTube channel is just for Brazilians, basically.
Just for Brazilians, okay. And I do have somebody that I work with, their husband is Brazilian. I know there are a lot of people coming to Germany from Brazil.
It's true.
Yeah, and there's also a very significant German community, I think, in Brazil. I think it's in the south.
Yeah, that's where I'm from. That's why I'm looked at like this.
So ethnically speaking, you're definitely German, yes?
Yeah, half German, half Italian, but yeah, basically.
Okay, gotcha.
In the south of Brazil, there's both, so that's why. They just
the funny thing is, like, I don't get too many calls from other places in South America except Brazil.
Okay, interesting.
You know, and that's always what they tell me. I have not been to Brazil myself, but I've been able to see Brazil from Argentina. Like, I looked at it.
Oh, like from the Iguazu Falls or something?
From Iguazu, yeah.
Got it. Okay.
From Iguazu. I was like, oh, look, there's Brazil over there. I'll just stay here in Argentina.
Yeah, you can. If you look further, you can see Paraguay as well. Yeah, I've been there. It's amazing. It's a really cool place.
My cell phone, my handy, thought it was in Paraguay. Not even kidding you, when I went to Iguazu.
That's something that's funny when you learn more language. Like you start picking the words you prefer for each situation, like handy.
Yeah.
It's better than mobile phone, like handy. And even sounds English, like Zafalsche Freunde maybe.
Yeah. Well, for you, what would be the incentive that you would give someone if they were coming to Germany, but they didn't think they had the ability to learn German and English? Like, what is going to make English the winner? Maybe
on my perception, it's just because it's so much easier. The grammar and as we mentioned before, it's very useful in general for life. So maybe it's a nice stepstone for someone that wants to learn a second language. It's like a first, second language, let's say, for everyone.
I would also say to somebody, let's say they're coming from Brazil and they're coming to Germany. Yes, it looks like Germany might be the place for you now, but will it be the place for you in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? Because this country's changed a lot. At least in my region, at least where I'm living in North Rhine-Westphalia, it's changing quite a bit. And it's not always changing in a good way. To the point where I've said to my husband, like, should we go back in 15 years? Should we go back in 10 years? And he's also in a position where he can get a job anywhere. He is an IT guy.
Oh, okay, yes.
And he did do half of his education in English. At Duisburg Essen. And a vast majority, he was telling me, of his classmates, they weren't Germans. They were Chinese, Indians, Bulgarian. Right? And so I don't know what happened to those people. But I'm sure they got something, even if it wasn't in Germany. And if it wasn't in Germany, then English would be the go-to.
Yeah, it's more flexible because there's so many countries that speak German, and if you're going to work on these areas, it's always in English, basically, all over the world. Yeah,
basically. I mean, and also I get a lot of people here on Cambly, they ask me, oh, yeah, in Germany, don't Germans speak English anyway? And I say, well, the people that you would be dealing with do. Like in business, in the higher levels of business and in technology and medical, those people for sure. Not not necessarily in my neighborhood.
Yeah, on the Baccarat.
Yeah. Not there, and not with the people of a certain age. They're not going to be interested.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, and yeah, German grammar sucks. I can attest to it. I am at C1 level. I am preparing to take that test. I think in September or November, and I am still sitting here with my husband, going, "What is the difference, accusative and dative?"
Yeah, the German don't know because it's
They
natural
don't
for
either.
them. They don't know the grammar. They just naturally know it because they were born into it.
They know it because they were born into it. And a lot of people have tried to make me feel better. They're like, "Oh, but your German's really good. Your German's good enough." And I say to them, I'm like, "Yeah, but for these people that I'm taking the test for, who are going to give me plus and minus points for everything, I have to know if it's dem or den."
Yeah, of course.
Einer.
It's different different standards. Yeah, it will not pass to use das for everything. You
Oh
need
my
to know.
God. I said to my husband this morning, actually, I said, I'm actually feeling a little sad because I almost feel like I have to go back now and learn der, die, and das for every single noun that I've ever used in my entire life. It's like knitting a beautiful sweater and then realizing that the sweater has holes in it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, because my German is really good. It's really good. But when that test guy is marking me for my use of the accusative and the dative, and like, oh my God, it never ends. Yeah, I'm sure you know this. If your first language is Portuguese, yeah, which is really good. I mean, Portuguese and English line up very nicely together.
You think so?
Yeah.
I never thought about it.
For the record, I don't speak Portuguese, but I do speak Spanish.
Okay.
Okay. And when I was in school and I was learning Spanish and I had to do translation, for example, much easier. Much easier.
That's a
much
surprise,
easier.
Yeah.
What?
That's a surprise for me. I will never
Really?
expect that. Yeah, that it aligns well because Latin language and English, they're so separate on my mind. So I didn't realize that.
Well, I mean, what is English essentially? English is essentially half a Latin language and half a Germanic language.
Oh, okay.
It kind of plays with its own rules a little bit. The only thing that I find significantly different if we're comparing English to Spanish is the masculine and feminine nouns.
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah, we have that, yeah.
Yeah, so, that's it.
Extra layer of complexity.
Yeah. And then you get to German and you're like, what the hell is this das neuter stuff?
Now we have one more. Yeah.
Like, what does this even mean? Like, why does this even exist? You know, and like you said, like nobody has a real clear answer. My husband, you know, he went to gymnasium, went to university. His German, his formal German is really, really good. But even he's like, listen, I just learned it because I learned it. Let me go ahead and use that on the C1 exam. So that is probably how I would market to the Brazilian market who might be interested in coming to Europe. And it doesn't matter if they come to Germany or they come to, well, I'd say France, but yeah, they're a little aggressive over there. France or Sweden, places like Sweden, Norway, Denmark, like don't even bother, just speak English.
Then Netherlands, everybody speaks English.
Yes. Yes, and I live close to the Netherlands. I live about 40 kilometers, right?
Yeah. So you just cross the border and now everybody speaks English again.
and they're good at it too. Yeah. That's the thing. So you might also want to promote this idea of competitiveness. You've got to be as good as the Dutch person is, as the Swedish person is, because they are good. You know, these kids, they go to school and they come out. It also has to deal with the fact that nothing is translated. There's no, what do they call that when you talk over? It's not dubbed over.
Yeah, dubbed, yeah.
The television in Holland isn't dubbed over. The music isn't changed in any way, whereas here in Germany it is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we need to go to a specific movie theater to see like a
right.
original version.
Right. And haven't you noticed the times are always awful? It's like, let me go see this movie at 10 o'clock on Wednesday night.
Oh, no, in Berlin it's fine. In Berlin we have...
Okay. You and your big city living.
Yeah, but it's true, yeah.
I have been to Berlin a couple of times, you know, as a tourist or whatever. And my biggest next experience is obviously Dusseldorf or Cologne. But for whatever reason, here in North Rhine-Westphalia, yes, you can see things in their original version, but it's really at an inconvenient time that nobody's going to go see anyway.
Interesting to know. Yeah, we had no idea about it. We were actually thinking about it, like if it's a thing or not.
Yeah, but I mean the good thing is in these big cosmopolitan cities like Berlin and Cologne, like there isn't that pressure.
Mm.
So I don't know if you want to downplay that with your Brazilian perspectives, that there isn't the pressure to speak German, or if you want to, I would make it like an incentive, a benefit. You're going to be able to make friends from all over the world and social network and all this other stuff.
That's 100% true. Yeah, we have made friends from many nationalities, and at the end of the day, we just speak English to each other because it's more convenient, because everybody's going to has a different language, like Brazilians and Germans and Australians and whatever, like Finnish. It's just a mix.
And everybody's speaking English together.
Yeah.
That's a little bit more like my workplace, my school. I mean, because we've got about a quarter of people are from Italy. There's all the English-speaking foreigners, and then there's Germans. And everybody just kind of does everything, often in German, but often in English. Yeah. I think you'll make a lot of strides if you promote this way.
Yeah.
I wish I had been to Brazil. I wish I could give you
like a super
more
insight.
Specific ideas.
Yeah,
like,
maybe one day. No, but it was a really good talk. We are going to use a lot of this, like your like perceptions and quotes.
Yeah,
and
we'll
stuff.
call it experience or perceptions, right?
It's going to be great.
If you ever want to start promoting towards the German market, that's a whole other conversation for real.
Exactly.
Because they're very particular, my friend. They're very particular. They know what they want and when they're going to achieve it. Yeah. Yeah, well, that's one thing I know for sure. Did you have any other questions?
That's it. Thank you very much for your time, Samantha.
You're welcome. Great. Have a good day, okay?
You too. See you next time, maybe.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.